The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good morning or good afternoon, everyone. We are so excited that you have joined us for our Power Panel series today. I am Melissa DeSico, and I'm the Director of Client Performance for Apartment Ratings and Satisfacts. And today is one of my very favorite topics. So I don't know if you've been to this before, but we cover a lot of different things. And this one in particular is celebrating teams. So the teams that make the magic happen on our sites. Very few industries, I'm constantly amazed at the level that we expect from our teams of customer service, de-escalation skills, emotional intelligence, financial acumen, all of those things that we expect from every single team member on our sites. And I don't think there's any other industry that asks for all of those things in one person. And so our teams are amazing, and frankly, they deliver all day, every day. So we have some of the best people in the country as part of our teams, and we're excited that we're going to talk about celebrating them today. So I will talk a little bit about what's going to go on today. So just so you know, it's a 60-minute webinar, and after that, we will have a follow-up email that will include the recording and the slides that we share today. So you will have those if you want them. So we do encourage taking notes, but you will be able to get them after the webinar today as well. Today, it's also interactive. So obviously you're on mute, but we'd love to still interact with you. So there is in your control panel in GoToWebinar, there's a question box, and we encourage you to ask questions at any time. So please do put those in that questions box. I'll try to check them periodically, but then we also have question and answer at the very end. So if I don't get to your question right away, we will make sure to do that at the end so we get your questions answered. When the webinar is over, you'll also get an exit survey, and we'd love for you to rate the webinar today and give us some comments. You might even be showcased on our social media, but we'd love to hear your feedback, and we'd love to also know what things you want us to talk about. So there's a section in there that you can tell us what you'd like to hear in future Power Panels. So please do share what you would like to see in the future. And can you guys, you can see my screen, right? Let me make sure. Of course not. All right, so now you can see my screen. I apologize for that. So anyway, so in addition to that, you can sign up for the next month Power Panel. And at the very end, I will share with you how to enter to win our $50 giveaway. So that will be at the very end today. And make sure, yay. Oh, I see Karen's on the webinar today. All right, so if you've been part of the Satisfacts family before, and you know we do this every single month, it's the third Thursday of every month that we offer our Power Panels. So if you missed any of the previous sessions, you can access those at satisfacts.com. So you can see all of those. Here's a small sampling of what we've had in the past that you can check out. Last month was unique events. So hopefully you guys do go back and check those out and download those. You can get the slides and all of the recordings if you'd like. Today I have some incredible panelists that are going to share how they celebrate their teams, and I cannot wait for you to meet them. They're all incredible. Their energy is amazing, and you can tell that they love their teams. So I'm excited for you to get to know them, but I thought I would start with just kind of talking about value drivers. And we often talk about the sense of community with Satisfacts. Sense of community for our residents is really what drives value at our properties. And so what that means is, are they celebrated, your residents? Do they feel like they're part of an exclusive club at your property? And I know we sort of beat that with a drum, because it's really the thing that really it's the most important thing to make sure that we're making our residents happy. It helps drive our online reputation, our retention rates, our renewal percentages, our increase potential, all of those things. And the reason I bring that up today is because, you guys, it's also the same for our employees or our associates that work for us. So they also want to be celebrated in the same way that our residents do. And we know we're all really skilled at making sure that those things are happening for our residents, but we also need to focus on that same thing for our employees. So that's why I brought up a little bit about that, because it's very similar in terms of, if you want your residents to feel that sense of community, you also have to have that sense of community with your team locally as well. So I thought I would get started with a little poll, and I apologize, it gets a little crazy when you launch this poll. So if you can, so I'm going to launch this, it's going to show up on your screen. And what you'll do is directly on your screen, you can click the button. So how often do you feel celebrated at your company? I would love to know how all of you are celebrated. Hopefully it's all the time and it's amazing. So if we can just jump in, put right on your screen what your answer is, if you feel celebrated at your company. And this could be from your direct manager or from your corporate team, or both of them at the same time. So we got about 50% voting. So if you can, just click on your screen and share with us how often you feel celebrated at your community. We'll wait till we get to 60%, so get those answers in. All right. We just hit 60, so I'm going to go ahead and share the results of that poll. Oops. Just one second. Okay. I don't know why it's not showing. Okay, so what we have is 55% of you say that sometimes you're feeling celebrated at your community. So feeling that, we had 41% of you saying all the time, but the good news is, in this survey, in this quick poll, only 5% said that they're rarely celebrated, and 0% said never celebrated. So I think that's a testament to how much we love our associates in this industry. I think, it's a genuine appreciation that is shown. So 55% sometimes, but 41% of you say all the time. So we just want to move that 55% up a little bit higher to make sure that you know that you're appreciated. So we're going to share a bunch of strategies today that will help make sure that your teams feel that way. All right, so we are going to move to okay, so hopefully you can see my screen again. Acting a little wild. Okay. So just like all of you, employees are 5 times more likely to stay when regularly acknowledged for good work. So those of you that are in that sometimes category, you're probably right on the edge, because getting to that sort of regular acknowledgement really makes sure that employees want to stay with your community. They feel like they are really engaged, that they are appreciated, that their work does not go unnoticed, but they're 5 times more likely to stay. So again, it can't just be, appreciation or celebration for the sheer effect of doing it, but it has to be something that's genuine, that's coming from your heart. So 5 times more likely to stay. That's why it's super important. So stop me from talking today. We want to make sure we introduce our amazing panelists today who have all of the goods to share with you. So I want them to introduce themselves. So Brittany, if you want to start and introduce yourself and a little bit about you and your community.
Sure. My name is Brittany. I am with Burger Rental Communities. I am a community manager at Bear Run Village in Pittsburgh, and I have been in this role for about 5 years, and I love every day of
it. Wonderful. All right, Leslie, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. My name is Leslie Berg, and I'm the general manager at City Lights Apartments in Aliso Viejo, California. I work for Shea Apartment Communities, and I've been in our business for almost 20 years. And I, like Brittany, have loved just about every moment of it. Really passionate about our field.
Oh, that's amazing. And Frances.
Good morning, good morning, good morning, all. My name is Frances Warren. I'm the community manager at the Groves Townhomes and Apartments, managed by Bauman Properties in St. Louis, Missouri. I don't want to tell the number of years that I've been in property management, but it's well over 30. And I love, love, love my team and my residents. We have a total unit count of 452 units, and we're moving ahead.
Yes, so yeah, you must only be like 35 years old, right?
Thank you.
Yeah, so we have quite a few, they're in different parts of the country. They're pretty high unit counts. So Frances said hers is 452. Brittany is at 438 in terms of units, and Leslie up there has 793 units. So lots going on, but I think that, their teams really do appreciate them, and you can tell that just their passion for the industry and people will come through today. So we want to talk, and we will first get some information from Brittany. So Brittany, I think, what everyone's wondering, like, what are you doing? So what are your sort of top 3 ways that you celebrate your employees and make them feel appreciated at your community?
Yeah, so Burger's fundamental number 14 is we celebrate our successes. This is one of my favorite things to do with my team. They work hard, I work hard, we all deserve to be celebrated. My favorite way to do that is to celebrate their birthdays. We each get a birthday lunch and they get to pick a dessert. We all get them a gift, we eat and we laugh together. Another way I do that is small gifts, like $10 or less. A few examples of this can be a new notebook, a new planner, their favorite candy. But most importantly, I tell them each and every day that I appreciate them and I thank them. In my opinion, words of affirmation go a long way, and the more they hear that I appreciate them, the more they feel celebrated. I like to shout them out on social media so that everybody knows how great they're doing.
Amazing. Yes. And I love all of your little examples on the pictures here. Can you tell people what they're holding up, your teammates, with the little like megaphone thing?
Yeah. So last year, Bear Run Village won the Burger Spirit Award. So that was our trophy. We had a resident event down at the bottom there. We all had Halloween costumes up in the top right-hand corner. So we take lots of photos and we document everything. But it's nice when you're having a rough day to look back at the photos and see how much fun we actually have.
Oh, I love that. It does look like fun. I'm a little jealous. Okay, and Frances, we'd love to hear some of the things that you're doing at your community as well.
I always get so excited when I meet with my team. The key is public acknowledgement to me. I give shout outs. I let others know how well they're doing via email, social media. We have morning huddles, just celebrating them, their birthdays, lunches together. And I award the lunches when a milestone is hit, giving out small gift cards and giving out certificates to acknowledge that milestone, such as lowering their tickets or renewal increases and vacancies. And at the end of each day, my shout out to each and every employee is thank you for all that you do. No one leaves here without me actually thanking them for everything that they have done in that particular day.
Yes, and I think something that Frances does that's super interesting, and they do have daily huddles in the morning, and I've been to a couple of them, and I think what's interesting is her whole team. So the maintenance team, and even the leasing and office team, they also shout out each other every morning if something really great happened, because I think we often forget about those little things that happen during the day. But it's nice to know that your teammates saw that. And I love that you offer them the platform to share that with the whole team and sort of make it known that something amazing happened when it often goes unnoticed.
Yes, we do. Our morning huddles are very important to us. And that is when a lot of the shout outs do go out to all of our team.
Yep, I love that. And I think, like I said, I think you foster that environment that helps make sure that people also, you always are thankful, but then they start being thankful to one another as well. Just amazing with your group. All right. And Leslie, share with us what you do as well.
Sure. I think the top three ways that I celebrate my team are personal connection, recognition, and team building activities. And as it relates to personal connection, I think that's the best place to start. So I like to work to figure out their why. I have a questionnaire, whether it's me onboarding to an existing team or if we have a new associate coming into our existing team, just of their likes and dislikes. What's their favorite lunch spot? What kind of coffee do they drink? Are they a coffee drinker? Maybe it's tea. And then I like to ask them how they like to be recognized, because I've found over the years, not everybody likes public praise. I think most people do, but some don't. And so then that public praise doesn't feel as much like praise as you might hope. Ongoing one-on-one meetings to keep them informed, which allow us to celebrate successes. And then it also allows us the opportunity to provide them with feedback for continued growth. Recognition, I like to give them little thank you notes with a lunch coupon on their desk. I do a quarterly trophy exchange for sales, service metrics, customer service, and then we have it's kind of a fun rotating MVP award. So whomever won it the quarter before brings it back for the next quarter and has to pass it along to whomever the next MVP is. And anybody on the team, from our porter all the way up, everyone other than me, obviously, is up for the MVP award. So it's just whatever they've done to contribute that quarter. And then public praise, meaning I like to ensure that those above the site level are aware of each person's contribution to the overall team success. With a team that's as large as ours, it's easy to have a great site visit, or maybe we've hit a goal that was a team goal, but if there was somebody that really stood out or did extra work towards that goal, I like to make sure that they're recognized for that above the site, and of course within the site as well. And then team building activities, the occasional team lunch, we'll close the office for an hour, play games together. We have giant Uno cards, life-size Jenga blocks, all kinds of different things to just build some camaraderie, let our hair down, take a breath, and then celebrating milestones, baby showers, birthdays, work anniversaries, weddings, all that kind of stuff. And then I, every year, write an annual handwritten thank you note in a holiday card for each team member, and I handpick a gift for them. And it's really a thank you from me for everything that they've contributed to the site over the last year. So those are kind of some of just the things that I like to do here at City Lights.
Oh, there's so many things I don't even know where to start.
Sorry.
Oh, that's amazing. So I love what you started with, and I think figuring out their why. I think that's so important, because you're right. People are so different, and they want different things. Different things are important to them. They, again, want to be recognized in a different way. And I love that you dig in and find out what makes that person specifically tick. And then I think something that's overlooked that you mentioned is that team building aspect. If your team's 2 people or 10 people or 20 people, I think that is often overlooked as something that is showing appreciation, because having a little fun while at work is always nice, or a little after work. But building trust between each other goes a long way as well, as you can see with your team.
Yeah, we like to have a lot of fun here.
That's amazing. All right, so in that same vein, so obviously celebrating our teams, building that sense of community with your employees goes a long way. And all of those things that our panelists have mentioned are amazing ways to sort of get that moving. But I think, the other thing to think about is what's motivating employees. And from our employee satisfaction surveys with SatisFacts, in the top 3, the first is the opportunity to learn new things that motivates employees. And the second one is advancement opportunities, which are obviously related. So I think something that our panelists are doing really well is making sure that their employees have the opportunity to learn and develop their careers. So I would love for our panelists to tell us a little bit about how they encourage learning and career development at their community, knowing what Leslie mentioned, that not everyone's goals or needs are the same. So I think that's an important piece. So, excuse me. Went too far there. So Frances, if you could start and help us understand, what do you do at your community to help really encourage that learning and development?
I help encourage learning and development, starting out during our monthly O3s, our one-on-ones. Personally, I ask about their goals to help them develop their own personal plan of growth. And once I find out their goals, I look into setting up trainings for them that will help them accomplish this goal by me going on the internet, visiting with other communities, and just finding out what they are doing so that I can help my team. We have a show and tell group learning where we all get together, and when I send out the resources to the team about how they can do their job better, and then I pair them with a mentor so that they can get training from that mentor to better themselves and help them reach their goals. We have a news flash Tuesday, and on that day we do updates on anything new that I may have learned about the property, any up and coming events, and any specific job areas that they have. We also do wins. It's a sharing time for teams of what they observed in our community during that week, and we shared that, and that will help others to go out and be more observant within the community. And if I notice that they need help in a particular area, I'll go out and I'll do research and try and set up a training for the team.
I love that. I think, something that you said, people want to be part of something bigger than themselves, right? And the fact that you make sure that at the minimum every Tuesday, you have a Newsflash Tuesday where you're sharing sort of what's going on, not only on the community level, but the company level in the case that they aren't always privy to that information. I think that really helps your team have a why behind what they're doing, right? It gives them that purpose because we all want to know what's going on. We want to know why we're working so hard and what's really being accomplished. So I love that you make sure that they're in the know, they understand the why and the purpose of behind their work. I think that's incredible.
It also helps them because it shows them that I do care, because I took the extra time to go out and to find exactly what they may have spoken to me about in an O3. And that helps build up their morale also.
Yep. And for those of you that don't know, an O3 is a one-on-one with your employee. So having those kind of consistently also helps with that. So Leslie, could you share a little bit about what you do for your learning and development with your team?
Sure. I like to work with guiding the associates to master their current role. I think that's key as we look to growth above or to the next step. They need to master their current role. But in tandem, I like to provide them with stretch goals for future growth. So if I understand, for example, that a sales agent may be interested in an AA, which is the equivalent of a bookkeeper here with us. Maybe it's, once a month they post a batch of checks and they learn how to do that. And I start exposing them a little bit to financials or whatever that may be. I also like to inspire and ignite their competitive spirit because I think that's going to really help them move forward. I like to expose associates to tasks related to their next step, ensure that I'm sharing information with them. I think sometimes as leaders, some of our team members are kind of like, gosh, what does she do in that office? And there's really no secret. If you want to sit beside me while I'm writing a budget, come on in. If you want to learn about our financials, come sit beside me. I'm happy to teach you. And I also encourage them to utilize our company training resources and platforms. We have a ton available to them. And then I like to identify their individual strengths and provide them with a project when that's appropriate in an effort to let them shine, right? Help build their confidence, give them kind of the assignment, a deadline, let them work on it, have check-ins with them. And then at the end, if there's any opportunity or challenges that need to be overcome, we can address that. But then by the end of that process and, over a period of time, hopefully they're kind of well-rounded and ready to go with confidence into an interview for whatever that next step may be. And I think, the other thing is beginning with the end in mind, right? I think as we're hiring associates, we look for people as we're hiring into entry-level positions, we look for someone with a little bit of fire in their belly, somebody who's kind of anxious and eager to grow with us and passionate about our field. So I think it starts all the way from the beginning through the lifespan of the associate.
I love that. I love looking, for what you hope to have in the future when you're doing that recruiting and sort of finding someone who wants to grow within your organization and fill needs that you have there. I think that's, an incredible way to do that as well. And just giving them that opportunity. But I think even when you were talking earlier about, having that intake or that onboarding with your new associates and finding out, what's important to them and that kind of thing, I think that really helps. It sounds like you use some of that information to help make sure that you are providing those opportunities at your site. Is that right?
It is. I mean, I think it's all hand in hand. I think that your questions and what you're exploring today, it all works together. I don't think that one thing works without the other. So I think, starting with that personal connection builds the trust to help them grow their career. They trust me to help guide them in the right direction, for sure.
I love it. All right. And Brittany, we'd love to hear what you do as well.
Yeah, of course. So as Frances had mentioned, first and foremost, I need to learn what each of their goals are. Once I know their goal, I will know how to best help them. I will know how to train them up. So if I have a leasing consultant who is interested in being promoted to an assistant, I will show them tasks outside of their current job description. And it's tasks that they would be doing as their role that they want to get promoted into. If they come to me with questions, I ask them, what do you think? How would you handle this situation? If their answer is incorrect, I explain to them why, and then I give them my recommendation. If their answer is correct, I tell them that, say great job, and we move forward from there. I like to make book or audible recommendations. I encourage them to take classes through PAA to get every certification that they can. But most importantly, I trust them to put their best foot forward. And if they're giving me their all every single day, the least I can do is help them reach their professional goals.
I love that you kind of incorporated some like book recommendations and things like that. Do you often work with your team do you have like a book club or something like that where you sort of discuss things that you've learned, or if that associate did go through and read that, do you guys share that information?
We do, yeah. So my favorite to date is the Energy Bus. I have listened to it multiple times. Highly recommend it. So I don't necessarily give all of my employees the same recommendation. I like to gear it towards, if one person needs help, completing tasks thoroughly, I'll recommend this book. Or if another one needs a little bit of help with their attitude or, their daily vibe that they're giving off, I'll make another recommendation. So I like to alter my recommendations based off of that employee.
Oh, that's fantastic. I think all of us wrote down the Energy Bus, and so they may see.
Yes, highly recommend it.
Oh my God.
It will change your entire mood.
Really? Is it just about, Is it work related?
It's work related and life related. It's about just having positive energy and, not thinking like, why is this happening to me? But how can I make this better?
Oh, I love that. I think we can all.
Yeah, it's a great recommendation.
Yeah, I love it. Wonderful. Well, I think when we think about sort of the life cycle of associates in our industry, we talked about sort of onboarding them, making sure that we're showing that appreciation that they absolutely deserve. And then obviously the step to help them grow and learn in their career, and I think something that we didn't say, but I think that even if we think about employees, it doesn't have to be in our industry either. I think, going that extra step, if they're interested, they're here and they're learning and they're growing and they're amazing at their job, but maybe their interest is outside of our industry. I'm sure all of our panelists today would be the one that says, well, what can I do to help you reach your goals, even if they're not, with our company or in our industry. But I think something that is inherent in our industry recently is that, unfortunately, all of our associates during the pandemic were considered essential workers. And, it was a struggle. It was exhausting for all of us. And I think that, given that situation, and on top of that, all the things that I mentioned at the top of the webinar, so things like having to have financial acumen, but the best customer service on the planet, right? Those things don't always go together. So it's exhausting. It's a rewarding, amazing industry. But again, burnout is something that happens frequently. And Forbes just recently did a survey, and 70% of employees are currently feeling burnt out. So that's not just in our industry, that's just everywhere. And I think that we have that sort of fatigue from the pandemic, but then also, we demand a lot in our industry from our associates. So something that I just wanted to talk with our panelists about is then how do you handle, we're having all this, the energy bus is at our property, we're all good to go and our people are amazing, but even the best associates, the ones that are there every day, their attitude, their vibe is amazing, and they're treating our residents and really enhancing our resident experience. But I think even those folks can feel that burnout. So I would love to hear from our panelists, what strategies, and I like I said, it might be something that is more recent that's come up because it's just more frequent. But what are some strategies that they have used to help their teams avoid burnout? And Leslie, I'll go to you first, if you don't mind just sharing. So what do you do, to handle burnout or hopefully prevent it, first of all, but then what do you do when it does happen?
Sure. I think one of the most important things that I work towards is culture. I think, City Lights is about the 33rd asset that I've managed in my career. And each of those assets over the years has had a different culture. Certainly, it depends on the team, right? It depends on their why. It depends on all that kind of initial stuff, that personal connection stuff we already talked about. But I think that cultivating a fun, engaging environment has a lot to do with prevention of burnout, finding the giggle throughout the day, right? So maybe, for example, we have a resident who consistently calls one of our CSRs and says that she hears a dog barking. We've gone around right when she's called. We never have heard a dog. We don't think necessarily that there is a dog, but I have a buzzer of a dog barking. So when that happens, I'm in my office and I hear the conversation happening at the reception desk outside of my door. And once of course it's appropriate and the phone is off, I push the buzzer, the dog barking. It just provides a little bit of relief because we know that we want to service that resident in excellence, but we also know that we're not sure that there's really a dog. Stuff just to kind of overcome some fatigue. I also, if they have had a particularly stressful day, if I'm aware that, something has gone awry for them, I'll say to them, hey, may I sit in and answer the phones for you for the rest of the day? Why don't you go home? Would you like to take a long lunch today? Here's a lunch coupon. And then, of course, ensuring that they are actually taking their PTO. I watched that quite a bit last year because there wasn't really anywhere to go. But I have a lot of tenured associates here, and their PTO banks were kind of at max capacity. And I'm like, look, maybe just take a couple 4-day work weeks, coming, providing and encouraging a healthy work and life balance. And then I think communication is key, making sure that they perceive that their voices are heard, listening for understanding during those one-on-ones, and look for signs of burnout. I think that personal connection that I talked about in the beginning really has a lot to do with the trust and the foundation that's built so that you can work to avoid burnout. But if you see signs of it, they trust you to have a conversation and figure out what they need to overcome whatever's in front of them.
I love that you sort of notice when people are having stress. I think a lot of us hide it well, but I think all of us have at least at some point experienced stress either at work or maybe it's at home in situations that are a little bit different these days. But I love that you kind of step in and offer to sort of do the work for them, knowing that, I feel like that builds so much trust if your manager says, I'll take care of this. I want you to take care of your mental health. and maybe not in that way, but knowing that that's what we mean by saying, we just take a break, you deserve it. I love that you offer that opportunity.
Yeah, I think that to your point, it continues to build that trust, right? And then that's the building block, that's the foundation that we get to keep building upon to get the best out of our people.
Absolutely. All right, so Brittany, I would love to hear yours as well, what you're doing with your teams with Burnout.
Yeah, so first and foremost with my team, I want to ensure that it is not preventable. So I believe that we all need to be using our time wisely and being as productive as possible with the few hours that we have throughout the day. So first I want to make sure it's not preventable, and if they could be using their time more wisely, I make recommendations on that. I also believe in staggering shifts. For example, during snow season, I split the maintenance team into 2 shifts, especially when we have a large, snowfall coming in. I'll do an AM shift and a PM shift. I help them however I can. I unfortunately can't fix, plumbing, but if there's service requests for light bulbs, I can help them with that. And lastly, I force them to take lunch every single day. They need at least 30 minutes to step away from what they're doing and take a mental and a physical break, as I do myself.
So true. And I love the idea of the staggering shifts. I think that we think about that with our office teams a lot because of, weekend schedules or whatever that may be. But I love the idea of, splitting the maintenance team and giving them kind of a break as well, or a change of scenery there a little bit. Especially with snowfall, that can be stressful in and of itself. So I like that idea.
Yeah, and then in between the 2 shifts, so there's a few hours where both shifts are there. So during those few hours, we'll get lunch, we'll all group up, and we'll say this is what's going on and this is what still needs done. So it worked really well with my team last year. Highly recommend it.
Yeah, I love that idea.
Yeah.
All right, Frances, can you share a little bit about what you do?
Yes, I can. I agree with Leslie regarding culture. We start our day with energy and laughter. At our morning huddles, we stand, we exercise, we do fun things just to try to shake off the stress. They tell me about their progress, and I let them know the progress that they have made, and I find out areas that they do need help in. Sometimes people will hide when they need help because they're ashamed or don't want someone to think that they can't do it. So I look for those areas. You can kind of look at a person and see when they're struggling, and I'll research that area to find better ways to help them perform their duties. And I do find out what their goals are, and we continue to work around those. But we have a menu Monday. And on menu Monday, when we get together, we just ask, what did you eat for breakfast or what are you eating at lunch? Just for a conversation flow, sharing the good news and just engaging with one another. Sometimes just to have someone talk and understand what you're going through will help us avoid some of the burnout and avoid the feeling of, I don't want to come to work. We do give them time to leave early on some days when we can feel the stress or see the stress in them. But one thing that I found is we incorporate different programs. Like we have a food box giveaway for people within the community, and they love helping out, joining the community together and passing out these food boxes. And then we organize different programs and activities for the residents. And each month we put someone different over the party or the celebration to help them get out of the monotony of doing the same thing each and every day.
Yeah, I think something that you mentioned, especially with daily huddles, I know I participated in some of these as well. And I think it just puts people in the right sort of mindset. If you have your morning huddle, and you kind of mentioned it, that you have everyone share a piece of good news that doesn't have to be work related, it can be personal or work, whatever it is that is good news for them. I think it helps set that mind frame, for the rest of the day, just starting out with like, what is going on that's really good. I think that is a really good way to start your day again, and get us all like celebrating each other at that time too, like, oh, congratulations, because sometimes something amazing happened and you don't even know unless you ask. So I love that. And I think something too that I know, Leslie, and maybe I don't mean to call you out here, but something that you do as well are a lot of competitions for your team too. I know, just to kind of build that camaraderie and things like that, but it does offer a little bit of it breaks up the day. It does something, it's a little bit different. I don't know if you can talk a little bit about some of your competitions.
Oh, sure. So we make everything a competition, and that's part of when I say making the work in front of us fun. For example, we patio walks, right? It gets really hot here, maybe not everyone's favorite task in the middle of August, but we divide the team into quadrants of the property, and each team competes to see which area, and then my senior service manager and myself will walk those quadrants at the end of each quarter, and there's a trophy involved for whichever team had the best patios and lunch for that group. Of course, sales metrics we make competitive, service metrics we make competitive. We do a lot. We do a lot of competitions here, just kind of to just to make things fun and to overcome the monotony of some of the things that are just day in, day out, right? So yeah.
Yeah, and I know it doesn't sound like a lot, but I think it does. It changes up the scenery, like you said. It adds a little bit of fun, and it just gives something else to look forward to, right? If you're struggling with some exhaustion, and maybe you don't want to, have to produce all the time, but having some of that, just make it a little bit different, make it fun, but make it feel like I'm not going to lose my job if I'm not productive, but here's a fun way to make it more exciting. So I think that's an interesting way. And again, burnout, it's different for every single person. So it's hard to have like a one size fits all, but I think a lot of the things that everyone said would apply to someone, right? It may be that they like to plan events or, things like that. And I love like the community outreach that Frances mentioned to sort of break it up as well. So I think amazing opportunities for that burnout problem that we've seen recently. So I wanted to go through, so now's a really good time. If you have any questions for our panelists, they have amazing things that they do at their community. So if you want to hear more about them, or if you just have a question in general to ask them how they do something or how they handle something, please put that in the questions box. We'd love to hear from you and answer any questions that you have about, celebrating teams, burnout, any of those things. So put that in the questions box and I'll make sure to get to it in just a moment. But I think some of the key takeaways that we kind of went through a lot of them as our amazing panelists were speaking today. But I think one of the main takeaways is making it personal. And I love the sort of Simon Sinek hat tip to finding their why. I think that personal touch that builds trust and it sort of sets the groundwork for the rest of their employment with your community, makes it go a long way in terms of not only being celebrated and appreciated, but also avoiding that burnout. I think the second thing was consistent and open communication. I think all of our panelists today had some sort of communication rhythm that they followed. So whether it's daily huddles from Frances or one-on-ones that Leslie talked about, the same thing with Brittany, everyone had some kind of communication that was consistent and open to foster that trust, but also making sure that, if someone, if they don't want to say in front of everyone that, that they can't get their job done, they need some assistance, it gives them that one-on-one time to make sure that they do have that opportunity to express that to you if you're making sure that it's an open communication environment. The third thing is you can't really over celebrate as long as it's genuine. I think that, like I mentioned in the beginning, our teams do so much compared to almost every other industry. And so they deserve to be celebrated, and I think that is something that hopefully it sounds like a lot of our companies that are on the call today do a lot of that. But I think we can push that a little bit further. And then the fourth thing that I think we heard throughout everything that everyone said today, I think, even when we're talking about learning and development, about avoiding burnout, or even just celebrating people, when our teams are working towards something, we're working every day, right? We're working to make this asset successful. but understanding the purpose behind that. Why are we doing that? Why is this task something that's going to help us reach goals? But really giving them that purpose, that they're part of something bigger, but that they understand what their piece in that puzzle really is. I think that that goes a long way as well. And a lot of times we just say, oh, that's what you do. You just do leasing. You focus on that. But I think all of our panelists today really focus on making sure that they understand the big picture about what's going on, not only at their community, but also at the company as well. So amazing job to our panelists. I loved hearing all of your different tips. So now I want to work at all of our sites. But I thought I would open it up. I didn't see any questions, but I'll check really quick to see if we had any questions come in. And now would be a great time to put in your question if you have one. I don't see any. We have a lot of shout outs for Leslie from her teams. All right, so we don't have any questions. So now I will tell you a little bit about how to participate in the future. So our next webinar in October, which I cannot believe it's already the middle of September already, but in October, we're talking about overcoming delinquency blues. So if you are an expert on delinquency, if you have some really cool strategies to help share with your fellow apartment industry, we'd love to hear from you so that you can be part of the next webinar. So we are looking for October panelists. So when you take the exit survey today, if you do want to participate, go ahead and let us know in that survey. You can also nominate an on-site team member. And so you can reach us at education@satisfax.com if you have someone that you're like, oh my gosh, they would be amazing for this topic, or in the exit survey, you'll be able to see some of the other topics that are coming up as well. So if you have someone that's incredible, we want to hear about it and we want to reach out to them. So let us know. We're also asking that you share any kind of future topics that you'd like to hear from a panel of experts to help you with your job. So please let us know if there's something else you want to hear about. So the most important part about today is finding out how to win your $50 Starbucks gift card. So an hour after the webinar, we will be posting on Facebook and Instagram. So Facebook is @Satisfax or Instagram is @Satisfax Education. And if you can follow us on either one of those platforms or both, and then find the audience rating post and just click like with that, and then add that little money emoji in the comment section, or, you know, we also take real comments, which we fully appreciate. So if you can put a comment in that rating post, we would love to hear from you and you will be entered. So then the contest will end tonight and we will announce the winner on social media tomorrow. So I did want to say a huge thank you. As I mentioned to the panelists when we started, you know, I think that the best thing that we can do is really celebrate and appreciate our teams and, you know, make this industry even more fun. And we have some of the best people on the planet. And I just want to thank you for making the employee experience incredible. And hopefully you all took some notes from today, but thank you to my panelists, and hopefully all of you join me in saying thank you to that team.
Thank you for having us, Melissa.
Oh my gosh, you guys were amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Melissa.
Thank you. And we hope to join another amazing panel, hopefully in October on the 21st at the same time, same channel, about overcoming delinquency blues. So we hope to see you soon. Oh, it looks like, do I have another question? I'm going to check it right before we jump off. Nope. All right. Well, thank you all. I am hoping that we see all kinds of celebrations. If you want to put a picture of your team celebrating in that class rating thing, I would love to see some of the attendees and their teams celebrating as well. So if you feel inclined, we'd love to see your pictures too, celebrating those on-site teams. So thank you all, and we will see you next month. Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.